You arrive here slowly, without effort, as if you have always been meant to be kneeling on this stretch of sand at the edge of the evening. The light is warm and low, the kind that turns everything softer, rounder, more forgiving. The ground beneath you holds the day's remaining warmth, and you feel it through your knees, steady and reassuring. You are not in a hurry. There is nowhere else you need to be. In front of you, the sand waits. You breathe in long and easy. You breathe out even slower. With calm hands, you begin to shape a small castle. Nothing grand, nothing dramatic, just careful towers and gentle walls, pressed together grain by grain. Each motion feels familiar, almost instinctive, like making your bed in the morning or placing a cup exactly where your hand expects it to be. The sand cooperates. It always does for a while. The sea rests nearby, breathing in its own rhythm. You notice it without turning your head. A soft, endless sound. Not loud, not demanding, just present. This castle is order. It is your room when everything sits where it belongs. It is your thoughts when they line up neatly. It is your body holding itself together without asking for applause. You do not think this explicitly. You simply feel it. The satisfaction of arrangement. The comfort of things making sense. The air is calm enough that you can hear distant sounds carried gently across the shore. Maybe a bird settling down for the night. Maybe the low hum of wind moving over water. It does not matter. Each sound arrives softly, then leaves without explanation. You let them pass. You smooth one wall of the castle, then another. Your fingers leave faint lines behind, proof of effort, proof of care. You smile a little at how seriously you are taking this, and the smile lingers because seriousness can be gentle too. There is a quiet humor in building something you know you cannot keep forever, like organizing a desk that will be used tomorrow. The castle stands. You pause. You breathe. The sea remains where it is. It does not rush forward. It does not pull back dramatically. It simply exists, expanding and releasing, again and again. You notice that its movement has no sharp edges, no urgency, just repetition. This is important, though you do not yet know why. As you sit with the castle, you begin to sense something subtle beneath the calm. Not danger, not loss, just a truth resting quietly under everything. The castle holds its shape only because you continue to care for it. The moment you stop, the moment you walk away, the sand will begin its own conversation with the wind and the water. You are not alarmed by this. In fact, you find it strangely comforting. Order, you realize, is something you participate in. It is not permanent, but it is real. Like warmth held briefly in your hands. Like a thought that stays long enough to be useful before drifting on. You adjust one tower that leans slightly. It straightens, obedient and patient. You feel a small satisfaction bloom in your chest, then settle. This feeling is familiar too. The feeling of making things a little better, even temporarily. Your breath deepens. The sky slowly shifts from gold to amber, and then towards something quieter. Colors blend without asking permission. The day does not announce its departure. It simply loosens its grip. You glance at the castle again. It looks peaceful, complete, enough. Nothing threatens it yet. Nothing needs to. The sea inhales. The sea exhales. You notice how your breathing has begun to follow along, as if your body recognizes this rhythm as something ancient and safe. Inhale, exhale. Each breath a small act of balance. Each breath a tiny structure held together by muscle, air, and timing. Your body, like the castle, is an arrangement. This thought lands softly, without weight. Your heart beats steadily, not rushing, not slowing, just doing its quiet work. You do not need to manage it. You simply allow it to continue. There is a gentle humor in that too, in how much order happens without your supervision. You are a very impressive sandcastle yourself, even when you forget. A faint breeze moves across the shore. You feel it brush your skin, cool but not cold. A few grains of sand tumble from the edge of the castle, so small you almost miss it. You do not rush to fix them. It is fine. This is when you begin to understand, not intellectually but bodily, that change does not require violence. Things do not need to shatter to transform. Sometimes they only need to be left alone long enough to remember motion. The sea does not hate the castle. The sea does not want to destroy it. The sea simply moves. You sit back slightly, resting your hands in the sand. The warmth lingers. Your fingers relax. The castle remains standing, and the moment stretches comfortably, like a yawn you do not suppress. For now, this is enough. As the tide draws a little closer, close enough that you can feel its presence more clearly, you exhale slowly, deeply, and without resistance. And as you do, your awareness begins to widen, gently, beyond the castle, beyond the shore, toward the vast, patient looseness that holds everything together and slowly, quietly, lets it spread. You remain near the castle, but something in you begins to lean outward, as if your awareness stretches gently beyond your body. You are still kneeling on the sand, still breathing slowly, yet the scene feels larger now. The shoreline extends in both directions, curving away until it disappears. The sea feels wider too, not deeper, just more open. Spacious, like a thought that refuses to be contained. You inhale, you exhale. The universe, you begin to sense, behaves very much like this beach. It does not favor stiffness. It does not cling. It relaxes whenever it can. Shapes soften, edges round. Arrangements loosen, not out of neglect, but out of preference. This realization arrives without drama. It settles beside you, like a blanket placed gently over your shoulders. Order, you understand now, is never the universe's default setting. It is a pause, a held breath, a temporary gathering of things that could just as easily be elsewhere. The sandcastle remains upright, but only because countless grains agree, for the moment, to stay close together. They will not always agree, and that is not a failure. You listen to the sea again. The sound is steady, repetitive, almost reassuring in its lack of ambition. The water spreads itself thin across the shore, then gathers, then spreads again. It does not aim to stay piled up. It prefers to move, to level, to equalize. You imagine the universe doing the same thing on a grander scale, smoothing itself out wherever it can. Your chest feels warm as you breathe, a soft glow behind the ribs. Heat gathers there briefly, then drifts outward, warming the air you release. Even your body participates in this preference for spreading. Nothing you feel stays perfectly contained. You smile faintly at this. Even your calm refuses to sit still. Entropy enters your awareness here, but it does not announce itself. It does not carry heavy definitions or sharp explanations. It feels more like a tendency, a leaning, a quiet suggestion whispered by everything that exists. If there is room to spread, spread. If there is tension, ease it. If something is tightly held, invite it to loosen. You watch the castle again. The walls are still intact, but they look less rigid than before. Or maybe you are seeing them differently now. You notice tiny spaces between grains, tiny imperfections that were always there. The structure holds not because it is solid, but because it is balanced. Balance, you realize, is not the same as permanence. The breeze returns, barely noticeable, carrying the faint scent of salt. It passes over the castle without ceremony. A few grains shift, others stay. No announcements are made. The universe, you think, is wonderfully understated. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out longer. The idea settles deeper. Order is not wrong. It is simply expensive. Costs energy, attention, effort. Without those, things return to ease. The universe does not punish order. It simply stops paying for it when no one else does. This thought feels strangely kind. You remember small moments of your own life without effort. A room left untouched. A cup cooling on a table. A thought fading when you stop feeding it. None of these moments are violent. They are quiet returns. The universe prefers not to micromanage. The sea reaches slightly closer now, not enough to touch the castle, just enough to announce itself more clearly. Cool presence. A reminder. You feel it at your toes, and it makes you laugh softly under your breath. The sea always arrives as itself. Consistent, unbothered by schedules. You imagine energy itself behaving this way, always looking for room to stretch out, to relax into lower tension. Concentration feels unnatural to it, like holding a breath forever. Spreading feels like relief. Your shoulders drop a little as you recognize this in yourself. You do not need to hold everything together all the time. The universe does not expect that from you. The castle still stands, patient and quiet. But now you see it differently. You see it as a momentary gathering, a pause in motion, a temporary agreement among grains that usually prefer freedom. There is something beautiful in that cooperation, something generous. You feel gratitude rise, slow and warm, for the fact that order appears at all. Your breathing stays steady, sinking with the tide. Inhale, exhale. Each breath spreads air through branching paths inside you, never retracing the exact same route. Even now, entropy is at work, distributing, softening, easing. You feel safe in this realization. If everything spreads, then nothing is trapped forever. If things loosen, then pressure eventually fades. The universe's preference for looseness becomes a kind of promise, whispered rather than sworn. The sea inches closer again. A thin line of water slides across the sand, then retreats, leaving the surface smoother than before. The castle remains untouched, but the message is clear. Motion is patient. Motion always gets a turn. You place your hands on the sand once more, feeling the grains slip easily between your fingers. You do not try to stop them. You let them fall where they want. The sensation is grounding, almost playful. Sand is terrible at staying put and excellent at being sand. You chuckle quietly at that thought. The universe, you decide, is very good at being itself. As you sit there, breathing, watching, allowing, the idea settles fully into your body. Entropy is not an enemy of order. It is the background music. The gentle hum that continues when no one is trying to control the tune. The castle holds for now. The sea waits, breathing. And as a small wave finally reaches your toes, cool and calm, inviting you closer, you feel ready to follow that invitation, to move gently forward, toward understanding why warmth itself never seems to stay where you put it, and why that, too, is perfectly natural. You feel it first on your hands. The warmth you gathered while shaping the castle lingers for a moment, then begins to thin, like a memory losing its sharp edges. The evening air brushes against your skin, cool but gentle, and you notice how easily the heat gives itself away. There is no struggle, no hesitation. It simply moves. You inhale slowly. You exhale even slower. This is how warmth behaves. It never stays gathered for long. It does not cling to where it began. It drifts outward, searching for space, easing into cooler surroundings as if that were always the plan. You do not need equations to understand this. Your body already knows. The sand beneath you feels different now. Still warm, but less insistent. The day's heat is loosening its grip, passing quietly into the air, into the sea, into the slow darkening sky. Nothing announces this exchange. It happens everywhere all at once with infinite patience. You glance at the castle again. Its edges look softer now, not because they have changed much, but because the light has. Shadows lengthen, stretching gently across the sand like long, relaxed sighs. Even light, you realize, spreads until it cannot spread anymore. Warmth behaves the same way. You hold your hands close together for a moment, creating a small pocket of heat between your palms. Feels comforting, familiar. Then you separate them slightly, and the warmth thins almost immediately, slipping into the open air. You smile faintly at how predictable this is, and how little it bothers you. Heat does not like being crowded. The sea nearby continues its steady breathing. Each wave carries energy forward, then releases it, flattening itself into a thin sheet that cools almost instantly against the shore. Motion turns into calm. Concentration turns into rest. You watch this happen again and again, hypnotized by how consistent it is. You breathe in. You breathe out. Entropy makes itself known here through sensation. Warmth spreading. Sound fading. Light dimming. Nothing disappears. Everything redistributes. The universe is not taking things away. It is sharing them more widely than before. Your chest rises gently with each breath, warm air filling your lungs, then leaving, carrying a bit of that warmth with it. You feel it slip past your lips, gone but not lost. Somewhere nearby, the night air becomes very slightly less cool because of you. This feels oddly comforting. You think of a cup of tea left untouched on a table. At first, steam curls upward, eager and visible. Then, quietly, it stops. The warmth does not vanish. It simply spreads into the room, into the walls, into everything that can accept it. The tea cools. The room warms. Balance approaches. Nothing is breaking. Everything is equalizing. The castle sits calmly through all of this. It does not mind the cooling air. Sand is excellent at adapting. The grains do not complain when warmth leaves them. They have no preference for being warm or cool. They simply respond. You run your fingers lightly across the surface of one tower. The sand feels cooler than before, but still pleasant. There is a quiet honesty to that coolness. It feels settled, finished with effort. The sky deepens into blue, then something darker and softer still. The first stars appear faintly, almost shy, their light traveling for an impossibly long time only to arrive gently, without urgency. Even starlight spreads until it thins. You realize that warmth wandering away is not a flaw in the universe. It is a kindness. If heat stayed trapped, if energy refused to spread, nothing would ever cool. Rest would be impossible. Sleep would never come. You feel your shoulders relax at this thought. Your body cools gradually as the evening deepens. Not abruptly, not unpleasantly, just enough to encourage stillness. You pull your arms a little closer to yourself, not to trap warmth, but to enjoy the transition. There is a gentle humor here too. You spend your days seeking warmth, then your nights grateful when it finally leaves. You watch the sea touch the sand and retreat, each wave carrying warmth from one place to another, endlessly patient. Water, like heat, never likes to stay gathered. Spreads, flows, relaxes. It finds the lowest place and rests there. Entropy, you realize, is not a thief. It is a traveler. You take another slow breath. The air feels cooler now as it enters you, warmer as it leaves. You become aware of how constant this exchange is. You have never held all your warmth inside yourself. You have always been sharing it, moment by moment, without noticing. This thought makes you feel less alone. The castle grows quieter in the dimming light. Details blur. Sharp lines soften. You are less interested now in fixing anything that leans or crumbles slightly. The structure feels complete enough. Perfection would only delay rest. You sit back, letting your hands rest in the sand. The coolness seeps in slowly, pleasantly. You feel grounded, anchored, like a stone that has finally stopped absorbing the sun and begun giving it back to the night. Your breathing slows further. Warmth wanders away because it can, because there is room, because spreading feels easier than staying tight and tense. The universe prefers ease, and warmth listens. You think of sound fading after a bell rings, of ripples flattening on water, of thoughts dissolving when you stop holding them. All of it follows the same gentle rule. If there is a gradient, a difference, it will soften. The sea glimmers faintly now, reflecting the first hints of moonlight. The castle casts a longer shadow, then almost none at all. You feel calm settle into your body, a cooling that does not mean cold, only quiet. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out longer still. The idea settles fully now, deep and reassuring. Cooling is not an ending. It is a sharing. Heat does not vanish. It participates. It becomes part of something larger, something calmer. You feel ready to follow this understanding further, to trace it into time itself, into why moments move forward and never quite return the way they were. As the sun sinks completely below the horizon and your breath fogs softly in the cooling air, you sense the next idea forming, like a line drawn in sand, waiting patiently to blur. You lean forward slightly and let one finger trace a thin line in the sand. The motion is slow and deliberate, almost ceremonial. The line appears instantly, crisp and clear, dividing one small patch of beach from another. For a moment it feels permanent, like a decision made with confidence. You lift your hand away and watch. The line waits. So do you. First, nothing happens. The sand holds its shape politely, as if respecting the effort you just made. Then, almost imperceptibly, the edges begin to soften. A few grains slide inward. A breeze passes, barely strong enough to be felt. The line is still there, but it is already less certain than it was. You breathe in. You breathe out. This, you realize, is how time reveals itself. Not as ticking or counting, but as change that only moves one way. The line does not sharpen on its own. It does not reassemble itself into something cleaner. It only blurs, slowly, patiently, without apology. You do not feel sad watching this. You feel curious. The castle stands nearby, quieter now in the dim light. You remember how it looked when you first shaped it, edges neat, towers proud. You did not watch it come into being backward. You did not see the finished castle suddenly leap into your hands. You built it grain by grain, moment by moment, in one direction only. Time, you begin to sense, behaves like entropy wearing a disguise. You sit back on your heels, grounding yourself in the sand. It feels cooler now, settled, no longer holding the day's warmth so tightly. The air moves gently around you, and your breath finds its rhythm again. Inhale, exhale. Each breath distinct from the last, impossible to repeat exactly. This is another clue. You can remember breathing a moment ago, but you cannot breathe that same breath again. The past feels different from the present because it carries more structure, more certainty. It already happened. The future, by contrast, feels open, blurred, undefined, like the line in the sand after the breeze. Entropy points the way. You do not need a compass to feel it. The direction of time is written into every small change. Warmth spreads. Sounds fade. Sand smooths itself out. These processes never reverse on their own. You have never seen ripples leap back into a stone. You have never watched smoke gather itself neatly back into a candle. And yet, none of this feels alarming. You find comfort in the consistency. The universe does not hesitate about which way to go. It always moves toward ease, toward spreading, toward rest. Time follows because it has no reason not to. You trace another line in the sand, slightly curved this time. It feels almost playful. You already know what will happen to it. You draw it anyway. There is a gentle humor in that, in creating something temporary with full awareness of its fate. The universe does this too, constantly, and never seems embarrassed. The sea breathes nearby, its surface reflecting faint light. Each wave arrives after the last, never before it. You cannot reverse the order, no matter how calmly you wish. The tide does not stutter or rewind. It simply continues. You feel this inside yourself as well. Your thoughts move forward, one giving rise to the next. You cannot think yesterday's thought again in exactly the same way. Even remembering changes it slightly, smoothing it, altering it, like sand disturbed by a passing footstep. The line you drew is already fading. Time's arrow, you realize, is not sharp. It does not cut. It points gently like a suggestion rather than a command. The universe whispers, this way, and everything follows without protest. You feel your heartbeat, steady and unhurried. Each beat replaces the last, never overlapping, never reversing. Your body understands time deeply. Cells renew. Energy flows. Nothing pauses to question the direction. You smile softly at how cooperative everything is. The castle's shadow stretches, then thins, then nearly disappears as the light continues to change. The structure itself remains, but the context shifts around it. Time alters relationships more than objects. The same castle feels different at dusk than it did in afternoon light. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out, grounding yourself. Entropy explains why time has memory. The past holds more order because it has already been arranged. The future holds more possibilities because it has not yet settled. The present is the narrow bridge where things are actively changing, where lines blur and warmth wanders and waves collapse into foam. You are always here on that bridge. The sea creeps a little closer now. A thin wave reaches forward and brushes the outer edge of the sand near the castle. It does not knock anything down. It simply dampens the surface, darkening the grains, making them heavier, more willing to stay where they land. You notice how water erases the line you drew much faster than air did. Moisture adds movement. Time accelerates when things can flow. You find this interesting but not urgent. Everything happens at the pace it happens. You lean back slightly, resting your hands behind you. The sand supports you easily. You feel held, safe. There is no rush to understand everything at once. Time does not demand comprehension. It only moves. The line is gone now. Where it once was, the sand looks smooth, undisturbed, as if nothing had ever happened there. And yet, it did. The past leaves traces in memory, not always in matter. This thought feels important. Time's arrow does not erase meaning. It simply refuses to preserve form. The castle will not remember being built, but you will. The sand does not care about the line, but you noticed it, and that noticing mattered. You feel calm settle deeper into your body as you accept this. Moments do not need to last forever to be real. Direction does not need to be reversed to be understood. The ocean breathes again, slightly closer this time. A small wave brushes the base of the castle's outer wall. The sand darkens. The corner softens. Nothing dramatic happens. Just change, arriving right on time. You inhale gently. You exhale long and easy. As you watch the tide begin its patient conversation with the castle, you sense the next understanding forming, about life itself, about how living things borrow order briefly and give it back without complaint. The arrow of time points forward, quietly, and you are ready to follow where it leads. You watch the place where the wave touched the castle, where the sand darkened and softened without collapsing. The structure still stands, altered but present, as if it accepted the contact without protest. This feels important. Life, you begin to sense, works the same way. It does not fight the tide. It meets it gently, adjusting just enough to remain. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out, steady and calm. Living things are often described as defying entropy, but sitting here, that description feels inaccurate. Nothing about the castle feels defiant. Nothing about your body feels rebellious. Life does not shout no at the universe. It whispers yes for a while. You place your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat, regular and warm. Each beat is an arrangement, a moment where countless processes align just long enough to move blood, deliver warmth, sustain shape. Then the moment passes, replaced by the next. Life is not a single structure. It is a continuous rebuilding. Like the castle, you imagine returning to this beach tomorrow morning. The tide will have erased much of what you built. The towers will slump, the walls will flatten. And yet, with patient hands, you could rebuild it again. Grain by grain, morning after morning. The effort would not be wasted. It would be the work itself. Living systems do this constantly. Your body gathers energy, organizes it, uses it, releases it. Food becomes motion. Motion becomes warmth. Warmth wanders away. Nothing is held forever. Everything is borrowed. This thought lands gently without sadness. You feel gratitude instead. Life borrows order the way you borrow a book from a quiet library. You do not own it. You care for it while it is with you. Eventually, you return it, unchanged in purpose but marked by having passed through your hands. The universe lends structure generously, without expectation of permanence. You smile softly at this comparison. Even the universe, it seems, understands due dates. The sea moves again, brushing closer to the castle's base. A small section slumps slightly, not collapsing, just relaxing into a new shape. The castle adapts. It always does until one day it cannot. That day will not arrive suddenly. It will arrive grain by grain. So does life. You breathe in. You breathe out. Your body is warm now, not hot, not cool, just balanced. Muscles hold you upright without strain. Your breathing happens without instruction. Cells repair, replace, reorganize themselves quietly, constantly. You are not a fixed object. You are a process humming along politely inside its borrowed boundaries. Entropy is not excluded from this process. It is invited in and managed. Life creates local order by allowing greater disorder elsewhere. Your warmth drifts outward. Your waste leaves your body. Your thoughts fade when they are no longer useful. Balance is maintained not by stopping entropy, but by working with it. This realization feels deeply reassuring. Nothing about living requires perfection. It requires participation. You think of a garden, how it stays ordered only when tended. Left alone, it does not become evil or broken. It simply becomes something else. Wild, entangled, honest. Life does not cling to neatness for its own sake. It uses neatness briefly, then releases it. The castle holds because you continue to care for it. The moment you stop, the sea resumes its work, patient and unoffended. Life, too, continues only while energy flows through it. When the flow slows, structures soften. There is no judgment in this, only transition. You feel a gentle warmth spread through your chest at this thought. Not excitement, just ease. You are allowed to be temporary. Your breath deepens naturally, like a body settling into a comfortable position. Inhale, exhale. Each breath sustains you without asking for gratitude. Each breath is a loan paid back immediately. The sea glimmers faintly under the rising moon. The castle's shape looks simpler now, less defined, but still recognizable. You realize that complexity itself is borrowed too. Intricate patterns require constant attention. When attention fades, simplicity returns. This applies to thoughts as well. You notice how quiet your mind feels compared to earlier. Fewer sharp edges. Less insistence. Entropy has smoothed your inner landscape just as it smooths the shore. This is not loss. It is rest. You chuckle quietly at how much effort you once spent trying to stay unchanged. How determined you were to hold certain shapes forever. The universe, meanwhile, kept offering you movement, flexibility, release. Life does not last by standing still. It lasts by flowing. The castle absorbs another small wave, its walls darkening, its corners rounding. Still standing, still recognizable, still borrowed. You sense how much time it has left without calculating it. Enough. Enough for now. You place your hands on the sand again and feel its coolness seep gently into your palms. The sensation grounds you, reminds you that contact itself is temporary. You cannot hold the same grain twice. You cannot touch the same moment again. And yet, here you are. Alive. Breathing. Participating. Life is a pattern that knows it will dissolve, and chooses to appear anyway. That feels brave in a quiet way. Not loud bravery. Not dramatic. Just persistence without illusion. You feel comforted by this honesty. Your body does not promise forever. Promises now. Promises this breath, this warmth, this balance. And then it promises the next one until it no longer can. The sea promises the same. One wave at a time. You inhale slowly. You exhale longer. The idea settles fully into you now. Life is not an exception to entropy. It is one of its most graceful expressions. A brief, beautiful arrangement allowed by the universe's patience. As you smooth the sand near the castle once more, slower now, calmer, you sense the next understanding approaching about effort, about why nothing stays tidy unless you keep returning to it. The tide hums steadily nearby, forgiving and unhurried, and you feel ready to listen. You sit quietly beside the castle and notice how different it feels now that you are no longer shaping it. Nothing dramatic has changed. No walls have fallen. No towers have collapsed. And yet, something subtle has shifted. Without your hands, without your attention, the structure has begun its slow conversation with wind and water. You breathe in gently. You breathe out, unhurried. This is when you realize why nothing ever stays tidy on its own. Order is not a destination. It is a relationship, a quiet agreement between effort and time. When effort steps away, time continues, polite but persistent, smoothing and rearranging without asking permission. The castle does not resent this. It does not strain to keep its edges sharp. Sand is not sentimental. It is practical. It settles where it is encouraged to settle, and when that encouragement fades, it relaxes. You think of rooms you have left alone for a while. Dust gathers without malice. Objects drift slightly from their places. Not because something has gone wrong, but because nothing is holding them still. Tidiness, you realize, is not the natural resting state of matter. Ease is. You shift your weight slightly and feel the sand respond beneath you, adjusting instantly. The ground never keeps your shape for long, prefers flexibility. The universe, it seems, dislikes rigidity unless someone is actively maintaining it. You smile softly at this thought. Entropy explains this without criticism. It does not scold messy rooms or slouch towers. It simply describes a tendency. If there are many ways for something to be disordered and only a few ways for it to be ordered, then disorder will gently win when left alone. This feels obvious when you sit with it. You breathe in. You breathe out. Effort creates order. Rest allows disorder. Neither is wrong. They are partners, not enemies. You cannot have one without the other. Constant effort would be exhausting. Endless disorder would be empty. Life moves between them, back and forth, like the tide. The castle holds its shape only because you have been returning to it, smoothing, adjusting, caring. The moment you stop, the sea resumes its work. Patient, thorough, never angry. You notice a small crack forming near the base of one wall. Not a break, just a place where grains have shifted, finding a more comfortable arrangement. You do not rush to fix it. You let it be. This feels like permission. You think of how often you blamed yourself for things falling apart. Relationships drifting, habits loosening, motivation fading when not constantly reinforced. You thought something was wrong. Sitting here, that belief softens. Nothing stays tidy on its own because nothing is meant to. Order is something you visit. You build it. You enjoy it. You leave it. You return again when needed. The universe does not expect you to maintain perfection without rest. You feel your shoulders drop slightly as this understanding settles into your body. The sea hums steadily nearby, its sound even and forgiving. It does not demand that the shoreline remain unchanged. It reshapes it gently, wave by wave, never in a hurry. You place your hand on the sand again and trace a small circle. The shape is neat for a moment, then begins to soften almost immediately. You laugh quietly at how predictable this is. Even when you expect it, the softening still feels a little surprising. The universe has a sense of humor like that. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out longer. Tidiness, you realize, requires energy because it pushes against probability. It gathers what prefers to spread. It holds what prefers to move. When the energy stops, probability resumes its quiet work. There is no shame in this. Only rhythm. You glance at the castle again and feel a tenderness toward it. Not because it is perfect, but because it is temporary. You built it knowing this, whether consciously or not. You cared anyway. That caring mattered. You feel the same tenderness toward yourself. Your body stays ordered only because countless processes continue their work without rest. When they slow, order softens. Muscles relax. Thoughts wander. Eventually, sleep arrives. Sleep itself is a kind of allowed disorder, a loosening that restores you. You smile at how kind that feels. Nothing ever stays tidy on its own because staying tidy is not the goal. Balance is. Motion is. The universe prefers flow over stillness, ease over tension. When you stop forcing shapes to hold, they find new ones. The castle absorbs another small wave. One corner slumps gently, like a tired shoulder. The structure looks less formal now, less architectural, more organic. You like it this way. Feels honest. You notice how your breathing has slowed even further. Each inhale arrives without effort. Each exhale leaves without resistance. Your body is practicing what the universe prefers, loosening whenever it can. You do not need to hold everything together all the time. This thought repeats softly like a lullaby. The sea continues its steady rhythm, never scolding the shore for changing, never praising it for holding, just interacting endlessly. You lean back slightly, supported by the sand. It adjusts under your weight, finding a shape that fits you without complaint. The ground never insists you stay exactly as you are. It adapts. Entropy, you realize, is adaptation without intention. You feel calm in this understanding. Deeply calm. The castle will continue to soften. The tide will continue to hum. And you will continue to move between moments of effort and moments of release, just like everything else that lives. You inhale gently. You exhale slow and easy. As you sit there, watching the structure relax into itself, you sense the next idea approaching, lifting your gaze upward, toward the sky, toward distant fires that follow the same rules on a grander scale. The tide remains patient, forgiving, and you feel ready to look up. You lean back slightly and let your eyes rise from the sand to the sky above you. Night has arrived without ceremony, settling over the beach like a soft blanket. The air feels cooler now, smoother, and the sounds around you seem farther apart. The sea continues its breathing, but it feels quieter somehow, as if it too is listening. Above you, the stars appear. First, only a few, then more. Pinpricks of light scattered gently across the dark, unevenly, without pattern you can immediately grasp. They do not rush into view. They arrive slowly, as though revealing themselves takes energy they are careful not to waste. You breathe in. You breathe out. These lights feel distant, but not cold. They remind you of campfires seen from far away, glowing steadily in the night. You imagine their warmth traveling outward, thinning as it goes, spreading patiently across unimaginable space just to reach your eyes. Even now, warmth is wandering away. Stars, you realize, are not eternal beacons. They are fires, slow ones, carefully balanced ones. They shine by gathering energy tightly enough to glow, then releasing it gradually, endlessly, until they cannot anymore. Concentration followed by release. Order followed by ease. Entropy is written into their light. You feel comforted by this. Something about knowing that even stars participate in the same quiet rules feels grounding. Nothing is exempt. Nothing is singled out. The universe applies its preferences gently and evenly. You lower your gaze for a moment and notice how the castle looks under starlight. Its shape is simpler now, its edges softened, its shadows faint. It feels smaller than it did before, not because it has shrunk, but because the context has grown. The sky stretches wide above it, placing everything in perspective. You smile softly at that. The universe is very good at perspective. You breathe again, slower this time, letting the rhythm of the sea and the stillness of the sky settle into you. The idea becomes clear without effort. Stars burn because energy prefers to spread. Fire is not an act of aggression. It is an act of release. You think of a candle flame, how it flickers gently, never holding still. Wax becomes warmth. Warmth becomes light. Light drifts outward until it fades into the room. The candle does not resist this. It exists because of it. Stars do the same thing, just patiently, over stretches of time too large to feel urgent. They glow not in defiance of entropy, but because of it. Concentrated energy unwinds itself slowly, gracefully, into space. You feel a sense of calm expand in your chest. If even stars are unwinding, then rest must be built into existence itself. The sea reflects faint starlight now, small glimmers appearing and disappearing as waves shift. Each reflection is brief, unstable, yet beautiful. You do not try to count them. You simply watch them come and go. Your body mirrors this pattern. Warmth flows outward. Tension releases. Thoughts loosen their grip. You are unwinding too, and it feels safe. You think about how often fire has symbolized urgency or destruction in stories. Sitting here, that symbolism feels incomplete. Fire is also warmth on a cold night. Light in darkness. A process that turns tight energy into gentle presence. The universe, you decide, prefers gentle presence. You glance at the castle again. A corner has softened further, one tower leaning slightly now, like it is tired from holding itself upright. You feel no impulse to fix it. It looks peaceful this way, honest. The structure is becoming part of the shore rather than standing apart from it. Stars, fires, castles, bodies, all following the same pattern. You breathe in, you breathe out. You feel small under the sky, but not insignificant. Small in the way a grain of sand is small within the beach, still real, still necessary to the whole. The universe does not diminish you by being vast. It includes you. Each star overhead is in the middle of its own long unwinding. Some are just beginning, bright and eager. Others are deep into their release, glowing softly, steadily, without drama. You cannot tell which is which from here, and that feels fine. You do not need to know the details to feel the pattern. The idea of time stretches again in your awareness, but this time without weight. You imagine stars shining long before this beach existed, long before you arrived, long before this castle was shaped. You imagine them continuing long after the tide smooths every trace of tonight away. This does not make you feel erased. It makes you feel held. Your moment fits inside a larger rhythm. Your brief order fits inside a longer flow. Entropy does not rush the universe toward an ending. It allows it to unfold at a pace slow enough to be gentle. You feel gratitude for that gentleness. A deeper wave rolls in now, barely noticeable at first, then unmistakable as it reaches the base of the castle. The water curls around it, touching more of its surface than before. The sand darkens. One wall slumps further, not collapsing, just relaxing into a lower shape. The castle glows faintly under the starlight, edges rounding, becoming simpler. It is not being destroyed. It is being redistributed. You notice how calm you feel watching this. No alarm rises. No sadness tightens your chest. The change feels appropriate, even beautiful, like watching embers fade after a fire has done its work. You think again of stars, of how their light spreads until it becomes part of the background of the universe. No sharp ending, just thinning, just quiet. You breathe deeply, feeling the air cool as it enters you, warm as it leaves. You are a small fire too, releasing energy gently into the night. You glow in ways you cannot see. The universe allows this. It allows stars. It allows castles. It allows you. Entropy, you realize, is not a force of destruction. It is the long unwinding that makes room for stillness. Without it, nothing could ever rest. Nothing could ever soften. Nothing could ever sleep. You feel your eyelids grow heavier as this thought settles fully. Not from boredom, but from safety. From knowing that the universe is not demanding constant tension. It is always offering release. The sea continues its patient motion. The sky remains vast and quiet. The castle holds what shape it can, for as long as it can, without complaint. You inhale slowly. You exhale, letting everything loosen just a little more. As you lie there beneath the stars, watching distant fires unwind at their own unhurried pace, you sense the next understanding waiting gently ahead, about memory, about meaning, about why moments feel precious as they fade. Another wave approaches, soft but certain, and you are ready to let it carry you onward. You remain where you are, beneath the open sky, listening to the sea as it continues its steady conversation with the shore. The castle is quieter now, less defined, its shape relaxing into something simpler. And yet, when you look at it, you know exactly what it is. Even softened, even changed, it still carries the memory of what it once was. You breathe in gently. You breathe out, slow and deep. This is where memory begins to make itself known. Not as a sharp replay, but as a softened echo. You remember the first moment you shaped the castle, the way the sand felt warmer then, the way the light rested differently on its edges. Those moments are gone, and yet they remain with you, altered but present. Memory, you realize, behaves like the tide. It does not preserve details perfectly. It smooths them. It rounds sharp corners. It carries pieces forward and leaves others behind, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. There is not enough space to hold everything exactly as it was. You feel this truth in your body. The day you just lived already feels different from how it felt while happening. Certain moments stand out, glowing softly. Others have already blurred into the background. This is not a failure of memory. It is how meaning forms. Meaning requires contrast. You watch the sea pull back slightly, carrying grains of sand with it. Those grains are not lost. They are relocated. Somewhere beneath the surface, they settle into new arrangements, new contexts no longer visible to you, but still part of the whole. Memories do the same. You inhale. You exhale. You think of moments you once wished would last forever. Conversations, places, versions of yourself that felt stable, complete. They did not last. And yet they shaped you. They altered the shoreline of who you are. Their absence is part of their influence. Loss, you realize, is not the opposite of meaning. It is the evidence of it. If nothing ever faded, nothing would stand out. If every moment stayed sharp and unchanged, your inner world would become crowded, noisy, impossible to rest inside. Forgetting is not betrayal. It is space-making. The castle absorbs another gentle wave. A tower dissolves almost completely now, sinking into a low mound that blends with the surrounding sand. You feel a small ache in your chest. Not pain exactly, but tenderness. The structure is disappearing and you care. That caring feels important. You do not rush to stop the wave. You do not rebuild. You simply watch. This is a different kind of participation. Witnessing rather than shaping. Allowing rather than fixing. The universe, you notice, spends far more time allowing than preserving. You think about how photographs capture moments, freezing them into neat frames. They are comforting, but they are not the moments themselves. The real moments lived, breathed, changed, and moved on. Memory does not freeze. It flows. You feel your breathing slow further, sinking with the water's rhythm. Inhale, exhale. Each breath replaces the last, and yet the pattern remains familiar. Continuity without sameness. This is how meaning survives change. You remember people who are no longer in your daily life. Their voices sound different now in your memory, softer, less precise. And yet, their influence remains woven into how you speak, how you think, how you care. Entropy softened the details, but it preserved the impact. This feels comforting. The sea does not erase the castle, completes it. It takes what was raised above the shore and returns it to the wider landscape. The castle becomes part of the beach again, no longer separate, no longer needing to hold itself together. Loss, you realize, is a return to context. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out, letting the thoughts settle. Moments feel precious because they cannot be repeated exactly. If you knew the castle would remain unchanged forever, you might not have noticed it so closely. Its impermanence invited your attention. Its passing invites reflection. Entropy gives shape to meaning by limiting duration. You feel gratitude rise quietly in your chest. Gratitude for moments that arrived, stayed briefly, and moved on. Gratitude for the softness that followed them. Gratitude for memory's gentle editing, which allows you to rest. The night air feels cooler now, carrying a faint saltiness. You pull your arms a little closer to your body, not to resist the cold, but to feel it more clearly. Sensation sharpens when you accept it rather than fight it. The castle is now mostly a suggestion, a low shape where something once stood taller. And yet, when you close your eyes, you can see it clearly as it was. Memory fills in what the present no longer holds. This does not feel like deception. It feels like collaboration. You open your eyes again and notice how smooth the shore looks where the castle once rose. The sand is calmer there now, less structured, more even. The sea has done careful work. You chuckle quietly at the thought that the universe is an excellent editor. You breathe in. You breathe out. Entropy does not steal meaning. It redistributes it. It takes meaning out of form and places it into experience, into memory, into quiet understanding. The shape changes, but the significance remains. You feel this deeply now. Loss does not mean something failed to matter. Loss means it mattered enough to leave a trace when it moved on. The sea continues its rhythm, wave after wave, never holding on, never apologizing. It trusts that what needs to remain will remain in other ways. You let that trust settle into you. Your body feels heavier now, closer to rest. Muscles loosen, thoughts slow. The day's impressions rearrange themselves softly inside your mind, some coming forward, others drifting back. This is memory forming in real time. You realize that even this moment will soon soften. The exact sound of the wave, the precise shape of the clouds, they will blur. And yet, the calm you feel will linger, shaping your inner landscape long after the details fade. That feels enough. You inhale gently. You exhale longer still. As you sit with the softened shore and the quiet ache that accompanies beauty's passing, you sense the next idea approaching, about endings that are not endings at all, about the universe's far future and its gentle rest. The sea breathes beside you, completing what it touches, and you allow yourself to follow where that calm completion leads. You stay where you are as the night deepens, the beach now wrapped in silver light. The moon hangs quietly above the water, bright enough to soften shadows, gentle enough not to demand attention. The sea feels calmer now, its movements slower, broader, as if it too is settling into the evening. You breathe in softly. You breathe out, long and loose. This is where thoughts about endings usually feel heavy, but tonight they do not. Sitting here, watching the shore smooth itself grain by grain, the idea of an ending feels less like disappearance and more like rest. The universe, you sense, is very good at resting. You look at the place where the castle once stood tall. Now it is nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding beach. There is no sudden absence, no sharp boundary, just continuity. The shore looks peaceful, complete in a different way than before. This helps you understand something important. The end of things is rarely abrupt. It is usually a thinning, a quiet spreading out, a return to simplicity. Entropy, when followed far enough, does not lead to chaos in the dramatic sense. It leads to calm, to sameness, to a state where nothing is strained, nothing is forced, nothing needs to hold itself together tightly anymore. You feel your chest relax as this idea settles. You imagine the universe far in the future, not in vivid detail but in feeling. Fewer contrasts, less intensity, wide even temperatures, long silences, a place where motion still exists, but without urgency. Like this beach after everyone has gone home. The image does not frighten you, feels peaceful. You breathe again, noticing how the cool air enters you easily, how the warmth you release drifts away without resistance. Even now, you are practicing the same process the universe follows on its largest scales. You warm, you share, you soften. Nothing about this feels wrong. You think about how often endings are framed as failures, as if reaching a state of rest means something has gone terribly wrong. Sitting here, that framing feels misplaced. Rest is not collapse. Rest is resolution. The sea offers a perfect example. It never stops moving entirely, but it does settle. Waves grow smaller, surfaces smooth, energy spreads out until nothing feels sharp. The universe, you realize, is moving toward that same kind of evening. You inhale gently, you exhale, letting your shoulders drop. The calm truth about the end of everything is that nothing is being rushed there. The universe takes its time. It unwinds slowly enough for stars to shine, for life to appear, for castles to be built on quiet shores. Entropy does not hurry toward silence. It allows fullness first. This comforts you deeply. You look again at the moonlit water. The reflections stretch and thin with each wave, never holding their shape for long. Light spreads until it becomes part of the background glow of the night. No announcement marks the moment it fades. You think about how sound behaves the same way. A wave breaks, the sound rises. Then it dissolves into the wider hush of the evening. Silence is not empty. It is simply what remains when everything has had its say. You feel grateful for that hush. Your body feels heavier now, closer to the sand, supported without effort. Muscles release what little tension they were still holding. Breathing becomes something that happens on its own, without instruction. This is what the universe is moving toward, you realize. Not nothingness, but effortlessness. The idea of a final stillness no longer feels bleak. It feels like the deepest exhale imaginable, held not by lungs, but by space itself. A place where differences have softened so completely that nothing pushes or pulls very hard anymore. You smile faintly at how kind that sounds. The castle is gone now in any recognizable form. And yet, the shore does not feel emptier because of it. It feels smoother, more even. The sand has not lost material. It has gained balance. You understand that the universe's far future will be similar. Not less real, just less dramatic. You breathe in, you breathe out. Entropy does not erase existence. It redistributes it so thoroughly that sharp distinctions dissolve. Stars spread their energy until they glow no more. Heat spreads until temperatures match. Motion continues until it becomes gentle enough to feel like stillness. This is not an ending to fear. It is a long settling. You think of falling asleep at night, how thoughts scatter and loosen, how effort drains away, how awareness dims without vanishing. Sleep does not feel like failure. It feels like permission. The universe, you realize, is allowed to sleep too. This thought wraps around you like a blanket. You notice how quiet the beach has become. The wind barely stirs. The waves arrive with less insistence. The entire scene feels like it is lowering its voice. You match it instinctively. Inhale, exhale. The end of everything, when imagined through entropy, is not a dramatic closing scene. It is a gentle fade-out. A slow dimming of lights after the story has been told in full. You find comfort in knowing there is no rush toward that moment. No countdown ticking in the background. The universe is patient with itself. That patience includes you. You feel a soft reassurance settle into your chest. You do not need to accomplish permanence. You do not need to leave sharp marks that last forever. Being part of the story while it unfolds is enough. The shore beneath the moon looks complete now. No structures, no interruptions, just sand, water, light, and sound in quiet agreement. You let your gaze rest there, untroubled. As the sea and sand become almost indistinguishable beneath the silver glow, you sense the next thought forming, about why building things still matters, even when you know they will soften and fade. The tide settles into a slow, repeating rhythm, and you are ready to follow it forward. You lie back on the sand for a moment, letting the cool grains settle around your body. The moonlight glances softly over the surface, reflecting faintly off the water. The tide hums its patient rhythm nearby. The castle has all but returned to the shore, softened, simplified, a suggestion of what it once was. And yet, its absence does not feel like a loss. It feels like space. You breathe in gently. You breathe out slowly. This is when you realize that order, even fleeting order, matters. Even though the castle will soften, even though waves will flatten the sand again and again, the act of building it left a trace. Not a trace in the sand, though there was that too, but a trace in your attention, in your awareness, in the quiet warmth of presence. Moments of order gain significance precisely because they do not last. The impermanence allows your senses to notice them. Their brevity sharpens your appreciation. You can feel each grain of sand more distinctly, each breath more deliberate, each movement of your hands more tender. You smile softly at this understanding. You think about how much effort goes into maintaining order in daily life. Rooms you clean, thoughts you organize, routines you follow, can feel tiresome, sometimes endless. But these small acts are not meaningless. Their value is not in permanence, but in participation. They are invitations to presence, reminders that your attention shapes the world, even temporarily. The tide continues its slow motion, and you notice how it respects and reshapes everything in its path. It does not destroy purposefully, but it offers continual change, and within that change, moments of structure emerge again and again. Building order is never pointless because it echoes into these gentle transformations. You inhale, noticing the expansion in your chest. You exhale, letting your shoulders drop. Even the simplest patterns, like the curve of a tower or the alignment of stones, have quiet meaning. The sand under your fingers remembers what you did. Not permanently, but long enough for you to notice and respond. Memory and perception join to honor these transient structures. They are meaningful in the very way they fade. You glance up at the night sky again. Stars burn steadily, releasing light that stretches for immense distances. Each one is a temporary concentration of energy, slowly spreading outward, participating in the same quiet rhythm you witnessed in the sand. Even the cosmos engages in this dance between order and dispersal. Even vast structures are temporary, yet significant in their presence. You feel a sense of warmth in your chest, a soft satisfaction, not from permanence but from involvement. The world allows order to exist, if only briefly. You allowed it to with each careful movement, each patient breath. That matters. You notice how your own body participates in this fleeting order. Your heartbeat pulses, steady but never constant. Each breath rises and falls, creating a rhythm, a pattern that is yours for a moment before changing. Your thoughts shape themselves, drift, and reshape again. You are alive in a temporary arrangement that matters while it exists. The castle's faint shadow stretches over the sand, smoothened but present. Its softened walls remind you that lasting form is not necessary for significance. The intention, the care, the act itself leaves subtle impact. Order is a gift, momentary, but received nonetheless. You breathe in slowly, deeply. You exhale, letting tension drift away. You reflect on life's small accomplishments. A meal prepared, a kind word offered, a thought recorded. Their importance is not in permanence, but in the act of engagement, in the way each one contributes to a larger rhythm. You recognize a gentle truth. Effort matters, not because it guarantees outcomes, but because it shapes experience while it lasts. The tide hums quietly in the background, an infinite participant in this dance. It reminds you that even when structures fade, their echoes influence what comes next. Waves will rearrange the sand, but the sand itself carries the memory of each touch. Meaning persists in subtle forms, like whispers that outlast the initial sound. You allow yourself a soft smile, a recognition of this quiet beauty. You inhale again, feeling the air fill your lungs. Exhale, letting the moonlit night settle around you. The castle may be gone, but the act of shaping it remains, present in awareness, in reflection, in the warmth you feel. You notice the emptiness of the shore now, the wide space where structures once stood. And yet, the emptiness is not barren. It is luminous with the memory of participation, with the soft imprint of care. Order matters because it invites presence, even when the shapes are gone. You feel gratitude for this realization, gratitude for the gentle impermanence of all things, gratitude for your attention, your patience, your willingness to shape and observe. Even temporary structures enrich experience. Even fleeting moments of care leave traces of meaning. You breathe in, letting the cool night air enter fully. You breathe out, longer, allowing your body to sink a little deeper into the sand. The stars above continue their slow release of light. The sea carries its quiet energy toward the horizon. And the castle, almost vanished, rests fully in the knowledge that its purpose was fulfilled not by staying intact, but by existing in attention and care, if only for a while. You smile again, feeling warmth that is neither trapped nor lost. Participation, however fleeting, is enough. Presence is enough. Order, even if temporary, matters profoundly, quietly, gently. You notice how your body has become part of the rhythm around you. The rise and fall of breath echoing the waves, the gentle pulse of life mirroring the stars. You are not separate from this unfolding. You are a participant, a temporary arrangement that matters while it exists. The tide repeats its soft, forgiving motion. The night embraces the shore with its quiet, indifferent patience. And you feel a deep understanding, a calm acceptance. Moments of order are meaningful because they are not permanent, because they are shared, because they invite awareness and care. You inhale, letting the thought sink in. You exhale, letting it settle in your body. As you rise slowly from the sand, preparing to continue your quiet journey, you notice the next chapter forming in your awareness. The gentle surrender to the flow of existence itself, the moment when effort and release harmonize completely. The shore, empty yet luminous, prepares the way for you to rest inside the rhythm of the universe. The tide hums steadily. You follow its lead. You lie flat on the sand, letting the cool grains mold gently to your body. The moon has shifted slightly, and its silver light stretches across the water in soft, broken reflections. The tide hums a quiet, steady rhythm, and each wave seems to whisper a slow, patient cadence into the night. The castle is gone, the shore smooth, and the world feels unhurried. You breathe in softly. You breathe out long and easy. All around you, the universe continues its gentle unwinding. The warmth from your body drifts outward, mixing with the cool night air. Tiny currents of wind brush across your skin, and you notice the faint, distant sound of waves meeting sand, over and over. Entropy is not a thief tonight. It is a lullaby. You allow yourself to feel this fully. Every pulse of your heart, every rise and fall of your chest, every small sensation of air on skin, carries you along. You are part of the same flow as stars shedding light, as heat moving gently outward, as water rolling over grains of sand. Your body is not separate from the universe. It is a moment within it, moving, changing, softening. You inhale, you exhale. You notice that your thoughts have also begun to ease. They drift, some dissolving, some lingering softly, all without pressure. You do not need to capture them or hold them. They are simply currents within your mind, like waves that rise and fall, returning to the broader rhythm of everything else around you. The night sky is quiet, but the stars still shine. Their light stretches far and wide, dispersing gradually, patiently. You feel kinship with this slow unwinding. Like them, you are a temporary arrangement of energy, maintaining your shape for a while before allowing it to blend back into the surroundings. The sand beneath you hums softly as you shift slightly, and you notice the tide inching forward. Its advance is neither abrupt nor demanding. It does not collapse the world. It reshapes it slowly, rhythmically, generously. You follow its lead, allowing your own structure to soften as well. You breathe in, you breathe out. Every part of you, every corner of the castle's memory, every lingering thought, is allowed to relax. The tide does not demand that you hold tension, the stars do not require that you resist time, and the sand does not insist that you stay rigid. You realize that letting go is part of the pattern of everything. Release is not weakness. It is participation. The warmth of your body blends with the cool night air. Muscles loosen, shoulders fall, your breath sinks deeper. You feel held by the universe, not by force, but by the consistent, patient rhythm of the natural world. You are cradled in motion, in flow, in a gentle continuity that needs nothing from you but presence. You notice how the world has become simpler, smoother. The castle's towers no longer stand. The sand is even. The shore is calm. The change is complete, yet it feels like an embrace rather than an ending. Entropy has carried everything along, but without cruelty or urgency. It is a guide, not a threat. You inhale slowly, letting the night air fill your lungs. You exhale, allowing your body to sink further into the sand. You feel gratitude rising quietly, not as excitement or tension, but as a deep, calm recognition. Your presence, your attention, your participation, however fleeting, has been enough. You are enough. You do not need to hold everything. The flow carries what you cannot, what you do not need to, and it does so without judgment. The ocean continues its soft conversation with the shore. Each wave arrives, curls, and retreats, a pattern repeated countless times, never identical, never demanding, always consistent. Your breathing synchronizes with it naturally. You rise and fall like the tide, like the sand shifting under moonlight, like warmth leaving your hands and spreading slowly outward. You realize that the universe is patient, and so are you. The moment of rest expands. Thought dissolves into sensation, sensation into awareness, awareness into the rhythm of the world. You are a wave in the ocean of existence, a whisper in the current of energy, a flicker of warmth that spreads and returns. Participation is enough. Structure is enough. Release is enough. You breathe in gently. You breathe out soft and complete. You feel the line between yourself and the environment blur. Sand, water, air, light. They are not separate from your presence. Your body, your breath, your awareness merge with them. You are being carried but also present. You are resting but also alive. Everything flows together without conflict. The night remains quiet, expansive, and forgiving. You notice the subtle hum of the tide, the faint gleam of the moon on the water, the gentle motion of the air. All around, energy moves slowly, evenly, releasing and reshaping, carrying everything forward. You sense that you too are part of this same flow, not against it, not apart from it. You inhale, you exhale. Everything that required effort before, The castle, your body's shape, even your thoughts can now soften. Nothing needs to be held anymore. Your mind quiets further, letting the tide of awareness carry it. Your body releases its hold on the day, and your breath becomes longer, steadier, deeper. You feel as if you are drifting in the rhythm of existence itself. The stars continue to burn quietly above, shedding light gradually, without hurry. They remind you that release can be gentle, that energy can flow without resistance, that existence does not need to fight itself. You feel yourself included in this pattern, a small but complete note in the long, quiet symphony of the universe. You inhale slowly, bringing attention to the gentle rise of your chest. You exhale, allowing it to sink fully. You notice how the sand holds you softly, molding beneath you without effort. Your body, your breath, your thoughts, all flow with the rhythm of the night. Nothing needs to be fixed, nothing needs to be forced. You are resting inside the current, participating in a process far larger than yourself, and it feels safe, soothing, and complete. A sense of completion spreads over you, though not finality. You are neither trapped nor lost. You are simply moving within the natural rhythm of all things. Entropy is no longer a force of loss. It is a lullaby, a quiet guide, a patient teacher reminding you that letting go is part of being. You inhale, you exhale. Your awareness drifts, noticing the long, soft rhythm of the tide, the cool touch of the sand, the distant glimmer of stars. You are a part of it. You are held by it. You are carried but not erased. Everything flows together in a gentle, ongoing cycle. You are present yet released, structured yet soft. The night carries you forward. The moonlight glances on the tide one last time, silvering the waves in a quiet shimmer. You feel your body, your breath, your awareness, entirely at rest inside the universal rhythm. The castle has softened. The shore is smooth. You are included. You are enough. You are resting inside the flow. Inhale gently, exhale, and let the sea carry the rest.